Happy Thanksgiving week and welcome to the VarsityWA Midweek Podcast. I am Todd Milles, your host. It's just the three amigos this week talking WIAA semifinal football. First, we'll have the championship coach Eric Kurle to break down a couple of the games in his X's and O's Coach's Corner, including Eastside Catholic's visit to Tacoma and Archbishop Murphy hosting Anacortes in the rematch of two heated Northwest Conference rivals. And then we'll have Matt Evans back on from Evans Rankings. He will talk about the game that interests him the most in each of the 6 classifications and will tell you who will be advancing on to next week's Gridiron Classic at Husky Stadium. Stick around for another good show of high school football in Washington. Welcome to the actual first segment, since we have no special guest, but we always have our special guest. He's our weekly guest, the championship coach Eric Kurle with Coach's Corner, a pretty in-depth X's and O's look at a couple of games. I know the coach has been studying film, just like he was when he was grinding as the coach of Graham Kapowsen. Let's start in the 2A classification, Eric, and the rematch from the Northwest Conference. Number 1 Archbishop Murphy against number 5 Anacortes, the 2-time defending state champs, with Ryan Harrington at quarterback. You've had a chance to look at those big bad guys from Everett and the speedsters from Anacortes. What do you think of the matchup?
It's going to be a fun one. You give me a little homework. How do you score on Archbishop Murphy? So I kind of looked at that, and that's kind of our focus right now. I see, a team that with the Anacortes, it's going to have to go in some empty. They're going to have to get numbers on so many ways. Their quarterback's going to have to run the ball when they get the numbers. So the biggest thing is they got to do, because Archbishop likes to get in cover 2. They like to keep that 6-man box. You got to spread them out. Teams like Seom got them spread out. A couple teams got them spread out. You got to get them in a 5-man box. And then the quarterback's going to have to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to run their counter. They're going to have to run inside trap and zone with their quarterback. And he's athletic to do that. And that's the best chance they got. They're going to have to throw the ball, to get them out of that 6-man box. They're going to have to throw their inside slots with a little hitch, little flat routes by the inside, run out. Their outside receiver is going to run those corners off and clear that area out in that cover 2. And then they're going to have to hopefully can hold up against that great D front and linebacker crew and be able to hit something down the middle with some kind of influence on those safeties. So you're going to have to go into a 3-by-2 in an empty set, and you're going to keep 2 guys on that parallel, keep those safeties wide and bring someone underneath and split that seam for the big play down the middle. Seom was able to hit some big plays. It was kind of just some great plays where some receivers up above, but I think Anacortes also has some good receivers that they might be able to make some plays against these guys. But, it's going to be a tough thing. The other thing, they got to get Webster, their running back. They got to get him in space against their linebackers. Bring him out of the backfield, throw the ball to him out of the backfield with some screens, some check downs. Their linebackers are not, cover guys. They're physical inside guys. That maybe they'll change. They do change from a 4-front to a 3-front when the team spreads them out a little bit more and go more to a 32 look in the box and widen their backwards to take away those little flat coverage. But the best thing Anacortes can do is be patient, run the ball a little bit, but also just dink and dime a little bit, get them to widen their inside backer, and then they're going to have to run with their quarterback and get numbers in a 5-man box with that quarterback and make, he's going to have to win the game. In my opinion, Harrington's going to have to win this football game. And the tough, really good defense is when you got an athletic quarterback that can run, if his first read even on a 90 game, quick stuff, it's not there. He's got to take off and run and make D linemen miss and make athletic plays. Basically Murphy's going to run their wing tee. They're going to run their wing tee. They're going to spread. They'll spread out and throw spread stuff and throw the ball too. I mean, they have athletes everywhere, so they're not just a wing tee team. They'll spread out and run some spread stuff. So Anacortes, they're going to try to stop the run, but they're going to have to be able to make some plays. in the perimeter to stop them too, because they're pretty talented with the big 6'6". They got the tight end Severson, and they got Henry at the slot or receiver, plays everything. Their running back is pretty special too, number 20. He runs real well. I think it's Isaiah Davis. So Archbishop University it's a tough, I think, for any team in our state to play them right now. They're talented pretty everywhere, but Anacortes, I think, because they're just shifty enough, and those guys have played a lot of football together and won a lot of games, that if they can get them and make some plays, get lucky early, keep the game close, be patient, make sure they got numbers, throw the ball when they have six in the box, run the ball when they got five, and spread them out. They got a shot.
Yeah, this was a Anacortes team that was minus 13 yards of offense at halftime in the first matchup. Ryan Harrington was under pressure all the time. Was sacked a few times. Snap over the head. They lost the down and distance war consistently. They lost the field position war consistently. In terms of making sure Ryan feels protected, he was under a lot of pressure the first game. What would you do to make sure he feels like he has enough time to kind of survey the field, whether it's quick stuff, maybe taking a shot down the field? What would you do to make sure he feels like he's got enough protection to make some plays?
Well, I like I said, I think really he's got to run that quick screen stuff. They got to get the running back, throw the running back out of the backfield a little bit more, um, and they got to run that inside stuff. They got to try to beat that outside backer who's not a great cover guy. They got to beat him in space, and they got to get the ball out of his hands. They can't try to throw down that beat that number two hole shot until later in the game. They got to be patient with it. And they got to run him. I mean, control run game and get him going. I mean, drop back, sit, throw. That's not going to happen against these guys. They're going to get in your face and get after it. So they're going to have to quick throw, run the quarterback on quick draws. Be patient. If his first read's not there, he's got to take off running and be the initial run, not scramble around. He's got to initially run to the first down because he's athletic. And their linebackers are good, but they're not the 4 or 5 guys. They're bigger, thicker guys. They're downhill runners, and he's gonna have to try to get in space and beat them. But I really think they got to throw to Webster a little more. They got to throw that kid in some checkdowns and get him one-on-one against some safeties, even through the line. Set him up inside on the hook area and a choice route over the ball and out of his hands. He's got to be a rhythm. He's got to drop back, get the ball out of his hands. If he holds it, it's going to be a long night for him.
At the end of this one, Eric Kurle, what will the scoreboard say?
I think Anacortes would have to play a pretty damn good game to win this. I think Archbishop Murphy is just a different level right now, and a lot of teams. So I'm going with Archbishop Murphy. I'm thinking, 35-14 type of thing.
Yeah, I'm going on with Archbishop Murphy. I saw these two teams play up close the first time. Talking to Justin Ports, the Anacortes coach, he knows that they're going to have to play pretty mistake-free and steal a game at the end. That's what it's going to take to beat this kind of superpower 2A team. But this might be the only team left of the 4 that has a chance to beat Archbishop Murphy. Well, let's look at a game in the 3A bracket. 2 bruising defenses. You have Eastside Catholic out of the Metro League. The number 2 team lost to O'Dea, their only loss, against the 3A PCL champions, Mount Tahoma, in the state semifinals for the first time since 1980. I think the joke here was the first team up to 20 wins. Eric, how low a scoring game do you see out of these 2 really good defenses, and how do you see how either offense can hurt the other defense?
Well, you look at Mount Tahoma, they have 3 different running backs who can run, quarterback. They got some speed outside. They're going to control the football. If they're smart, control the football, run the ball, try the 3-4 and try to bust things out. They're pretty patient, I think, and Coach Terry has done a great job. Probably one of the best coaching jobs, I think, in our state. If you watch what he's done with the Mount Tahoma program, and just being patient, running their stuff, their counter, their things, and just keeping running the ball, rotating their running backs like they do, and then taking a shot to Durr, and making him make plays. Defensively, they play sound defense. They play really good defense. They're physical. They get after it. They're athletic at so many places. Eastside Catholic's more a spread team. They can throw the ball a little bit better than what Mount Tahoma more does it to make big plays and things like that. They can be patient and throw the ball. They are pretty solid just everywhere. Oh, Eastside Catholic, they're pretty solid everywhere they are. I mean, they're a 3-4 team. They like to be in cover four. They might have to roll down to more cover one, cover three to stop the run of Mount Tahoma. Mount T, they have a variety of different things they do, but they really want to be in that two back three receiver set and get you to spread an outside linebacker and then run inside. If you start reducing that outside linebacker, then they're going to take their shots to the receivers outside. They're going to play action and get outside. Very comparable football teams right here. And yeah, I believe we'll talk about in a minute, but I, who's going to win this game is going to be, I think, I'm going to tell you right now who I think will win. I think Mount Tahoma is going to win with the special teams win. They're going to win on a big special teams play or a return of an interception. Something like that's going to win this game because I think it's going to be that close. But I think Mount T has that itch, so that's why I'm going to go to Mount T on this. I like both these teams. I love Dom up at East Side. These guys are both just great dudes and good coaches, and so this is going to be a grind. Both games, I mean, it's going to be grind on both sides of the ball. And then something like a special teams, and I'm going to go with Mount T. Put my call right now that they're going to make a big play on a special teams play, a block punt, a, a punt return, or kickoff return for a championship for a touchdown to win it.
Well, I mean, Eastside Catholic has the two running backs, Caden Peely, Nick Jones. But I wanted to ask you, when you look at, Mount Tahoma's got the experience at quarterback, and Eastside Catholic starting a first-year quarterback in Luca Villasenor, but has some pretty good weapons with the tight end, Tyke McNeil, Asa Thompson, Robert Ingram. When you look at their pass game, we saw him against O'Day, but what was your impressions about watching the way Luca kind of operated that passing attack and trying to get those guys involved?
I think he's real efficient. I think he's a really efficient quarterback. It's not a superstar. I don't think he's a superstar, but I think he's a really solid quarterback, and they do a good job of being able to run the ball and throw the ball. Efficient spread team. They're not leaning one way or the other. What they do, they got multiple guys that can do it. I think. That's why I say it's going to be such a close game in this game. I think he does a lot of things well. He's not going to like go 20 for 25 or something like that. He's going to be a 16 for 26 or something like he's going to be in that range, maybe 150, 180 yards, but he's going to be efficient. They're going to run the ball. They're going to control the ball too. But that offense is just really, really efficient. And the same thing about Tahoma. They're a little different because they're more of a run two back team. So.
At the end of this one, I know who you're picking, but at the end of this one, what will the scoreboard say, Eric Kurle?
I think it's going to be a 20-17 game or something like that. It's going to be that close, and a big play is going to make the play. And I'm just leaning toward Mount Tahoma doing it because I've seen him do it a couple times in games I saw earlier with Camus, so I'm going with it again. So
yeah, I went back and forth with this one, Eric, on who I think is going to win. I think Eastside Catholic has maybe the cleaner passing operation, but you're right. There's just something about Mount Tahoma's knack of making a play like they did last week with Elijah Durr interception return off of Sione Coho or a kickoff return. They just find a way to make a play to change the game in their favor. And I am going with Mount Tahoma too. I think this prediction I had was 19-17. I don't think either one of these teams get 20 points. I think that's how good their defenses are. Well, that'll do it this week. Coach's Corner with Eric Kurle breaking down the X's and O's of the Archbishop Murphy Anacortes game in 2A and the Mount Tahoma Eastside Catholic game in 3A. We'll see Coach on Saturday after we have our Gridiron Classic finalists. Coach, have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you then.
You bet.
And we come back to the final segment of the midweek VarsityWA podcast, joined by our regular guest from the Tri-Cities, Matt Evans from Evans Rankings, who has been all over social media, breaking things down, what the computer says, what he says, and we get to get him on for 10 or 15 minutes to talk about the 6 classifications and who will advance on to Gridiron Classic in the first weekend of December at Husky Stadium. So let's go right to 4A, the 2 games, Graham Kapowsen at Lake Stevens and Sumner at Puyallup. Which game interests you the most in the 4A bracket?
I think I've got to go with the Graham Kapowsen Lake Stevens. I mean, I think that game is going to be the closer of the two. I think that if you're looking at upset potential, I think that one has the most upset potential in my opinion. Lake Stevens looks really good offensively, but man, I think like we said on Saturday, I think that this game could be a first to 50, first to 60 is the one who wins it. It's, last possession. GK is just, they went on the road last week, showed that they can, go take the bus, get over there, get off, do their business, and then, bingo. So yeah, that's the one I'm really intrigued by.
I'd like to say something about the Puyallup Sumner game. I think we're gonna know very, very early. Lance McGee has to be involved for Sumner.
Yep.
Lance McGee has to make big plays and get that Puyallup defense on its heels and slow down that first quarter express the Vikings have been on all season. If they can't do either one of those, we could see another long night for the defending state champs. That's the kind of role Puyallup's been on. Which teams, Matt Evans, will be advancing to Gridiron Classic in the 4A bracket?
I think that at the end of the day, I'm going with Puyallup, and I think I'm going to go GK. I think I'm going to go an all SPSL final.
I too am going Puyallup, and I'm going with the home team, the Lake Stevens Vikings with Tom Try. Okay, and now in the 3A bracket, the top 4 seeds have advanced through to the semifinals. Bellevue will play O'Day at Renton Memorial, and Eastside Catholic will come down to Tacoma to play Mount Tahoma. Which game interests you more in the 3A bracket, Matt?
Honestly, I'm going to go Bellevue O'Day. Obviously this Bellevue team isn't the Bellevue team that we were used to the last few years, but Bellevue as a program is Bellevue. And I think that if anybody can stymie O'Day, I think that Bellevue knows how to do it. And I think that's going to be the one that I'm really intrigued by this weekend.
Yeah, I think the Mount Tahoma Eastside Catholic game, first 1 to 20 wins. That's how highly I think of both of their defenses. Along with O'Day, they might be the 2 most physical defenses, not only in 3A, but the state of Washington. Which teams will be advancing to Gridiron Classic, Matt Evans, in the 3A bracket?
I think I'm going to go with the home teams. I think I'm going Mount Tahoma and O'Day. I think it's going to be just a heck of a game. Both games are going to be awesome.
I, too, am going with O'Day and the Thunderbirds to go to Gridiron Classic at Husky Stadium. Let's get to the 2A classification. A rematch from the Northwest Conference. Anacortes, the 2-time defending champs, going to Everett to play Archbishop Murphy. And East Valley of Yakima, the 2A CWAC champion, coming to the EVCO champions. Tumwater, who's been in the 2A championship game the past 2 years. Which game interests you more, Matt Evans, in the 2A bracket?
I've got to go with East Valley and Tumwater. I think that Archbishop Murphy has just rolled all of their opponents this year. And I mean, while Anacortes does have the best opportunity to beat them of the teams they've played recently, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, why Archbishop Murphy wouldn't win this game handily. But I mean, East Valley of Yakima, they've been building to this for the last 3 years, and here's their moment to shine and going on to take on Tumwater, the storied 2A program. I'm excited to see this one.
I agree with you. I think Anacortes of the 4 teams, or of the 3 teams remaining, has the best chance to beat Archbishop Murphy, just in the difference of styles. Eric Kurle was on earlier, kind of broke that game down and said they've got to have the quick passing games. They have to get the running back out, get them spread out. They're big and strong, but maybe not the best in coverage, especially some of those linebackers. They just got to be patient. And the quarterback, Ryan Harrington's got to run when it breaks down, when he sees an opportunity. At the end of this, which two teams will be moving on to Gridiron Classic in the 2A bracket, Matt Evans?
I think I'm going to go with Archbishop Murphy, and I think I'm going to go with Tom Water. I think that Tom Water is a team that has been here before. They know how to, when the going gets tough in this game, they're going to be able to just react and not have to, it isn't new to them. So I think that when it gets close at the end, it's just going to be reactionary for Tom Water.
Look pained by that, Matt Evans. I think was there part of you that wanted to take East Valley as the team to play Archbishop in the finals?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's always nice to see new teams get in there, and I've got a couple of connections in the program, and they're I let obviously I'm an East Side homer too, so it's nice to see the East Side teams do well. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Tumwater, but I'd love to see East Valley get through. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's been 20 years since anybody from Yakima proper has been in the state championship game. I am also going with Archbishop Murphy and Tumwater. I don't think you can replace experience, and both those teams have fared very well at the state level. In the 1A bracket, which game interests you the most, Matt Evans?
Man, both of these games, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with Linden Christian and Royal, just because, Royal's Royal, and Linden Christian is a disputed field goal attempt away from being undefeated as well. I think this could be a state championship game in any other year, and I think that Linden Christian could make this one interesting.
Yeah, it's been well documented. This is the last team to beat Royal a few years ago, went to Royal City and beat the Knights. That day they ran the ball about 100 times to beat Royal. And I think this is a Veldman. I think this is a Koyman game. I know that Boyce Robertson and Eli Mayberry have put up some gaudy numbers for Linden Christian, and those athletes like to do stuff in space, but that's not how you beat Royal. You're just playing into Royal's hands. That secondary at Royal is fantastic. They want you to throw the ball. They're waiting for you to make a mistake and to make you pay for it. I think Koyman has to run the football and run it effectively, and they have to shorten the game. They almost have to play it like it's sort of a black and blue pound ground and pound type game. I think this is the game that I think most people probably are intrigued by because of the history that these two teams have had recently. Matt Evans, which two teams will be advancing to Gridiron Classic from the 1A bracket?
I think it's an all East Side final. I think Kashmir and Royal get through, but I don't think that it's as easy as people may think that it is. I think they're going to be tough games that if they are two possession, it's going to be a late score by the winning teams.
I also think Royal and Kashmir will advance. I don't think they're going to be as close as people think. I think each team wins by 2 or more touchdowns. I just think Kashmir and Royal are that much better than everybody else in the 1A bracket. Let's go to the 2B bracket. Some interesting games and teams that haven't really played each other. Tri-Cities Prep hosts Adna, and Okanagan goes to Toledo, the two-time defending champions, the Bulldogs. Which game interests you the most in the 2A bracket, Matt Evans?
I'm looking at Adna and Tri-Cities Prep, and the reasoning for this one mostly is because I don't feel like Tri-Cities Prep has played a team as physical as Adna is. I think that, while Tri-Cities Prep does have a really good record, the EWAC is not a good test for getting teams ready for the state tournament, in my opinion. And I think that Adna has the chance to come in and just impose their will. And, basically, if they can out physical Tri-Cities Prep, I think they may have a chance in this one.
Yeah, Kyle Cairns, Aaron Cochran, former teammates at Goldendale, coached together at Goldendale before Aaron took the job at Adna, and Kyle went to become the football coach and athletic director at Tri-Cities Prep. I'm really, really intrigued by this. Is a big moment for Toledo. I mean, listen, it's probably since dirt was created was the last time Napa Vine and Onalaska were shut out in the same year. And this Toledo defense, all those seniors did it to both of those teams this fall. But again, we've talked about this over and over. There's just no replacing state playoff experience, especially teams that have been known to make deep runs. And Okanagan going to Freeman and winning that wild game last week. I mean, they're in some ways they're kind of playing with house money because nobody thought they would get there after all the seniors they graduated, and here they are having a chance to go. They're one step away from a possible three-peat, going against the number one seed Riverhawks, who, while they've sort of dominated everybody that's been put in front of them, they just haven't done it at this juncture before, Matt. And I think all the pressure is honestly on Toledo. The top seed and the home team in this, although it's at Tumwater. I'm really, really intrigued by this game, especially how the Bulldogs experience, in the state tournament impacts the game. So, with that said, which two teams from the 2B bracket, Matt Evans, will be playing in Gridiron Classic?
Great shout out with Aaron Cochran. That guy's amazing. I'm a huge fan of his. That being said, sorry, Aaron, I'm going with Tri-Cities Prep, and I think Toledo goes over the hump. I think it's going to be, I think that it's how do they handle the scare that Okanagan's going to put him in? Because there's going to be a moment where there's going to be a fork in the road. Are they going to be successful, or are they going to fold under the pressure? But I think it's going to be Toledo and Tri-Cities Prep in the final.
I'm going with Tri-Cities Prep, but I'm going with Okie. Toledo lives and dies a lot by the big play. They've kind of morphed into a big play offense with Eli Weeks and Adam Kruger. And that's just something that Okanagan does not give up with that defense. Napavine couldn't break that riddle the last 2 years with Carson Denault, and I don't think they're going to do it with Adam Kruger and Eli Weeks. Toledo's going to have to show it can be patient and grind out drives, which is something they're used to, running more traditional wing T stuff in the past, but they've become more big play oriented. I think Okanagan wins a low scoring game and gets a chance to go for the 3-peat. And finally, awesome. Let's go to the 8-man football bracket, the 1Bs, the ones that play in the shadows, man. The ones that don't have stadium lights for the most part. So we've got Wahkiakum coming to Liberty Christian, and we've got Almira Cooley Heartline, better known as ACH, going to Walla Walla High School to play DeSales. Which game in the 1B bracket interests you the most, Matt Evans?
I think both of these games are going to be awesome, mind you. Just throwing that out there. Both these games are going to be great. There's playmakers, just plenty on all these teams. The game I'm really excited about is Wahkiakum and Liberty Christian. Wahkiakum, if you haven't watched Jaden Stoddard play, he's just so much fun to watch. Wahkiakum too, they've got 4 receivers that have 500 yards receiving. They just got back Parker Lights. He was out for like most of the season, just came back, had a huge impact on their game last week. They've got so many different options. And then you look at Liberty Christian too. Trenton Ralston's been preparing for this moment for the last couple of years. He's finally got the reins as a senior, and Dax McCure's having himself a great season as well with 11 touchdown catches. I'm intrigued to see how Liberty Christian plays defensively against Wahkiakum, because I think Wahkiakum's going to want to spread them out. And I think that, they're going to want to get Jaden Stoddard to the ball in running. But if Liberty Christian then, can kind of contain him, he's got so many options outside. It's going to be just a fun chess match to watch. I'm really excited to watch that one.
Neither of these, in either one of the games, neither of these teams have played each other in the state playoffs before, which adds to the intrigue. You talked about it last week, upset potential, and as good as Cohen Wood's been, and that passing attack, when it's on, it purrs. I'm interested to see how ACH's physicality impacts this game. It was sort of explained to me, and I agree. Inside the hashes, that's sort of ACH territory. Outside the hashes, that's DeSales territory, and whoever manages their property the best, I think, is going to go win this football game. With that being said, who advances on to Gridiron Classic in the 1B bracket, Matt Evans?
Tough one. I think Liberty Christian takes the win in the 1. And I think Elmira Cooley Heartland wins the other. I think we get an ACH Liberty Christian rematch.
I agree. I think both of those teams win and move on. And what a game that would be in Husky Stadium. Craig Lukens, Brandon Walsh, who's longtime coaches, just really good guys, and teams with more than 30 players. That's just unfair in 1B football, but it would be nice to see Husky Stadium fill up, at least on the field, for the 1B game. So, well, that will do it with Matt Evans as we look at the semifinal games in Washington High School football, the WIAA playoffs. All of those games will be Saturday with a Birth to Gridiron Classic at stake. I'm Todd Milles, your host. I'd like to thank Matt Evans coming on and Eric Kurle for his Coach's Corner, the X's and O's breakdown. Happy Thanksgiving to all our listeners. We will be back Saturday night with our jaws dropped to talk about some of the crazy things that happen in the WIAA semifinals. This podcast is brought to you by Varsity Washington, your source for high school sports news, rankings, and more around the state of Washington. You can listen to new episodes of the VarsityWA Podcast weekly on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And for more from VarsityWA, visit us at varsitywanews.com and subscribe for daily posts covering the high school sports landscape around the state. A special thank you to our guests on this episode and to Carl Johnson and Matt Bueller of the Portland-based band Edith and Axon for providing the music you hear at the beginning and end of this podcast each week. You can find the band on Instagram at Edith Axon Official. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the VarsityWA Podcast. For producer Lauren Smith, I'm your host, Todd Milles. We will be back next week.